Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm very excited to bring you a review for the brand new Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom, Dinobot. Dinobot is one of two Voyagers in the second wave of Kingdom, and I'm getting this guy quite early compared to other people in the US because I've been ordering through a Canadian-based retailer now. Unfortunately, they were currently sold out of his wave-mate Inferno, but they should be getting him in next month, so I'm looking forward to that. And Dinobot, to me, is one of the most anticipated figures because he's one of my favorite characters in all of Transformers. He's just so well written. He's a lot of fun. He's got such a cool design, but it's a design that's been very difficult to capture in toy form. They took a lot of liberties with the CGI model. And as such, none of his toys ever get it 100% right because it's just physically impossible to get it 100% right. But there have been a few attempts over the years. You have the original Dinobot toy, which was actually the basis for the CGI design. Then you have a Universe one, which I don't have, but honestly, it was really ugly and I don't miss it. Then more recently, you have the Masterpiece toy, which you can bet I will be breaking out to compare this guy with. So if you've seen my reviews before, you know how this goes. We're going to take a look at Dinobot's packaging, then we'll open it up, we'll see his instructions, his fate reveal card, and then we'll see Dinobot himself in both his Beast and Robot modes. Got a couple figures to compare him with today, and then at the end of the video, I'll give my final thoughts. So Dinobot comes in your standard Kingdom packaging. You get his Beast mode right here on the front. Very cool looking Velociraptor, or what we thought of as Velociraptors in '96 anyway. Then on the side, you get the Robot side of the artwork, which is also just really awesome. He's just charging in with his little rotating blade weapon, which they're making it out like it looks like it's supposed to shoot lasers and stuff, which it never did in the original show, but it could. I imagine you probably attach fire blast effects to that middle piece. They don't have him showing off his sword, though. It's interesting. You can see the toy right there on the front, and I mean, God, look at that head sculpt. Look at that head sculpt. That's enough right there to just pretty much sell me on the toy. On the top, you just get your cave painting Predacon symbol, little text symbols here, logo. Swing around to the back, you get renders of the toy, which are, as far as I can tell, pretty faithful to the finished product. Maybe a little more faded looking with the colors. And you can see that the toy takes 28 steps to transform, so moderately complicated. I will point out one thing. You see these bits right here in the chest are brown in the renders. Well, unfortunately, they're orange on the toy, so a bit of an eyesore in the Raptor mode. Speaking of Raptor mode, here's a little cave painting of that beast mode there. And then, of course, on the side, you get your Kingdom side art. Okay, we're just going to go straight to the instructions because, just like my Megatron, I got another repeat on the Fate card, so not even going to show it. We're in Wave 2, and I'm still getting repeats on the Fate cards, so that's cool. Alright, so we open this up. You can see this is the how-to for getting Dinobot to wield his weapons, either in a combined fashion or separately. And then they just go straight into the transformation from Robot to Velociraptor. It finishes on the back here. Pretty simple, not much to it. And now here's Dinobot in his Raptor mode. And you can see, overall, it's about what you'd expect for a Dinobot toy. You know, mostly Raptor up top, Robot chunks on the bottom. Pretty standard. And then we got this unsightly abomination that looks like it belongs in an anatomy class, because, yikes. I don't know who decided to do this, who was like, you know, we just have this purple missile, we're just going to have it stick out the tip of his tail. Like, why? Well, not a missile, but a sword. Looks like a missile. Yeah, I mean, why not just design the tail to cover it? I don't understand. Really odd choice. I don't know, man. To me, this is probably the single biggest thing that bothers me about this toy. Like, the Robo chunks I come to expect, but what is this? It looks terrible. Now you can leave the missile out, but then he's just going to have a cut-off tail, so not really winning either way. I don't know. I'm not happy about it. All right, getting into posability. His head can raise and lower, which is cool. A little tight. Jaw obviously can open and close. Also quite tight. It's got a nice painted tongue on the inside, painted teeth. These really nice eyes. Give him a lot of character there. The arms are very posable. So they're actually not ball jointed, which is, kind of different for a, bipedal dinosaur transformer, where the shoulder joint is actually a universal joint, which is very cool. And he's got a hinged elbow. And now he does have ball joints for the wrist, which in one case is good because you get a lot of posability out of it, right? You can move around a lot. But the downside to this is, you can see, a lot of people point this out, he's kind of stuck in this just permanent, like, limp-wristed pose here. You can only raise the hands up, I think, that far, that's it. Which looks kind of odd. Now, I get, like, these are shaped the way they are to kind of tuck into everything in robot mode, but I don't understand why you couldn't go for a hinge joint, which would allow him to actually, like, lift his hand up much higher on the wrist, which would look a lot more natural. I don't know. Weird choice. Not a deal breaker, but weird. You also see the backs of his thighs are interesting because, if you're not sure what that is, those are like the outer side areas of his robot chest. So this is going to combine with the raptor head to give that stretched over raptor skin with like the little blue and the red cages that he has in a CGI model. So it's just kind of a different way of dealing with, trying to emulate that. The Masterpiece did something kind of similar where they used panels on the underbelly to create that. This is a different take, but same overall idea as you're using part of the raptor to kind of cover up the head. So interesting. You get to the legs, they're very posable. They go out. They don't swing up and down at the hip area, so just swing in and out. And the knees bend, and you got a an ankle swivel. Just a wrist swivel for robot mode. No tilt because these are the robot hands, so they're just kind of a permanent molded stance there. It's okay. It's all right. Not the most posable, not the least posable. And the other side is, where it might lose you if you're looking for a realistic raptor mode, because he's got some baggage there. Now this I want to talk about too. So these little hip joint areas on the earlier, like the renders and earlier photos of this, these were done up in brown, pretty similar to, the brown on the raptor, blended in a lot better. Well, they changed that to orange, and I think it makes the robot hips look better, but it really, really breaks that illusion, like that front-facing illusion in the Raptor mode. So you could tell that while the Raptor mode is pretty good for what it is, the robot mode was very much prioritized with this guy. And I think it makes sense to do that, right? Because people have always complained we've never had a Dinobot toy that really captured his look in the show. Outside Masterpiece anyway. So that's the route that they went. And it is what it is. If you don't like compromised beast modes, you might hate this guy, especially his appendage. But, I always prioritize robot mode, so we'll see how that looks and make a final judgment. Here's a quick group shot with what is, in my opinion, the best Dinobot toy ever made. And this is the Transformers Masterpiece Dinobot. Very heavy focus on cartoon accuracy with this guy, which normally I'm not a fan of, particularly with the G1 toys, because I just feel that the cartoon wasn't visually impressive enough to be, a standard to strive for. Beast Wars, on the other hand, instead of taking detailed toys and toning down the detail, they, turned everything up a notch. So I think that's the right way to go, right? You want something that looks good. Something that's realistic looking, has good textures, and this guy knocks it out of the park. They have this really great technique for making the scales all over his body. He's very, very posable. He gets the colors a lot closer, too. Instead of using this grayish color underneath, he gets that tan color that Dinobot's known for. Proportions are also much closer. I did a review on this guy when I bought him. Practically nobody watched it. So if you want to see that, make sure to check it out. Click on the little card at the top of the screen. But yeah, he's got his own issues. I mean, he still has robo bits that hang out, especially around his butt. But overall, I think the Masterpiece is a much better package, at least as far as the Raptor mode's concerned. The tail actually articulates, everything's just better. But again, it's a $250 toy and a $30 toy, so there's going to be differences. Fun fact, this is the last Masterpiece toy I ever bought. Like, after him, I got priced out of that market. He was $250, I barely afforded that, and then when Megatron came in at $325, and then Optimus Prime at $450, I'm just like, nope. I am so done with this. So it's a shame. I mean, I love that I managed to get this guy because he's great, but he was kind of the beginning of the end for me. Now, normally, I'd go ahead and show off my 10th anniversary Dinobot along with these guys, but that thing would probably crumble to dust if I tried to transform it. So sadly, I can't use him for a Raptor comparison, but I'll break him out for robot mode. All right, now it's time to transform Dinobot to his very iconic robot mode. So the first thing you want to do, go ahead, remove his tail. Just kind of set that aside for now. All right, we're gonna untab his feet from this little section down here. Just gonna get his legs to lift out. Kind of a pain to tuck all this up in there. Gotta get it to fit just right. So you stretch his robot legs out, straighten out the feet, flip out the little heel spurs like so. You can see the spurs have the 5mm ports on them, like pretty much all War for Cybertron toys. Fold these little panels up to form his shins. I think he's got ports here too. So a lot more than your standard Beast Wars based Kingdom figure. All right, go ahead, rotate this around 180. And now for the dinosaur head, he's got this little spring-loaded neck bit here. You're just going to make sure that's pushed in while you lower the dino head down like so. Go ahead, splay these arms out to the side, keep them out of the way. All right, you're going to lift this tail cover off. Kind of keep it out of the way for now. Gonna move all this stuff up and out of the way. Then you're gonna swing this down, and there's a tab here that plugs in the back of the Raptor head. So you just go ahead, plug that in there like so. You're gonna push this down till this little circle bit plugs onto here. And push the tail section in, that'll kind of rest in place here. See, it's got tabs, little slots for them. All right, next you want to lift his arms up out of these little thigh pieces. Try not to unplug them while you do that. All right. And you're going to separate these. Flip them forward like so. Swing these bits down. These are going to form that robot torso like so. All right, next you're going to take these dino arms. You're going to fold the wrists until this tab on the forearm goes into the palm of the hand. Like so. Bend this up. You're going to swing this in, and you can see there's a tab right there on the torso. It's going to plug into that little slot on the finger. Just going to squeeze it in there. Push it on. It's not a very secure connection, but it'll work. Keep everything in place. So do the same thing on this side. Swing it in. Just like that. Rotate the shoulders to where his little gold pauldrons are facing up. Swing the arms down. You want the not completely empty side, which I'm going to gripe about that in a minute. Facing forward. Go ahead, fix his wrists, all that stuff. All right, here we go. Here is the new Kingdom Dinobot in his robot mode. And overall, I think he looks really impressive. I think they really nailed the overall look of the character. Yeah, he's got some back kibble on him, but again, you're talking a $30 toy trying to emulate a nigh impossible CGI concept, so you got to make sacrifices somewhere. Not even the Masterpiece is immune to making those. Now, when it comes to his tail, you got a couple options. You can actually keep it plugged onto his back for storage if you'd like, and it'll just kind of hang out there out of the way, so that's convenient. Or go ahead and plug his little spinning rotor blade weapon into his hand. It's generally wielded in his left hand. So you just plug that into the palm, pull out the cracks, lift it up. So you can get his little combined weapon that he had on the original toy. Sometimes use it this way in the show, where you just kind of got the sword spinning in the middle. Or lastly, you can go ahead and pull the sword out. Now here's the weird thing. I don't know why they did this. So the way they have this set up, you got this tab kind of coming off the bottom of the sword hilt. Makes it impossible for him to wield it the old-fashioned way, like the original toy where it can just kind of stick straight out. And that's really weird they'd eliminate that callback, but oh well. But you can plug it in the normal way and just have him wield it like a normal sword. And this is what you get. So this guy ends up being very dynamic looking. And while his details don't exactly match up with the CGI model, because they're not going to, he really gets the overall look. Now, there are some paint apps that you could, argue should be applied here. His feet are largely just brown like the Raptor mode, and that was done to get them to blend in better with the Raptor mode. Which, weird call, right? They made these gold, but then made these brown, but oh well. The rotary blade, sadly not painted inside. I think that's a shame. It doesn't have that flesh tone going on the inside there. Not a super deal breaker, but I would have preferred it. Other than that, he's pretty close as far as colors and everything. Just minor paint details here. Again, he's got that little bit of a backpack, but it's not terrible. It's pretty flush against him. And overall, I just think this is a really, really great package for a Voyager toy. Let's look at that head sculpt. That head sculpt, they nailed it. Like, that is mainframe Beast Wars television show Dinobot. I love it. Really got that look down. As far as posability, the head is ball jointed, so that's really neat. It's fairly loose ball joint, so you can get a lot of expression out of this. It's got the universal shoulders, which are awesome. Bicep swivel, single bent elbows, wrist swivel, opening and closing fingers / talons. It's got the waist swivel, universal hips, nice thigh swivel up here on that little ball. He's got a knee bend, and he's got ankle tilt, and even ankle rocking. So, pretty much everything. Like, it's got all the posability you'd want in a modern toy. And he just looks so good. I mean, whereas the Raptor mode, I think kind of drops the ball, it gets made up for with this robot mode. And I thought this was really clever how they kind of incorporated the actual dino head with these faux panels to make it look like it's splayed out. I mean, it's parts forming, it's faux kibble, but it's faux kibble done right. You're just kind of expanding on the actual head there. The head doesn't just hide away pointlessly. So I like it. And honestly, I think for a Voyager price point, as far as the engineering and all that, that's the best you're going to get. Some things I don't like, this guy's got a lot of hollowness in his arms. You can see his inner forearms very hollow, as well as the backs of his arms. That looks really bad. Like, this, probably my least favorite thing for the robot mode is just, he's not a huge Voyager, right? Like, he's tall. He's taller than Primal by a little bit. But he's still definitely one of those Voyagers where, the cost is supposed to come from the complexity and all that. He's not as solid as some of those small Voyagers, your Optimus Primal, your Hot Rod, where they had almost no hollow bits, and that was kind of the excuse for, releasing them so small. So, really? It would have broken the bank to just fill these in? It looks terrible. So, that's my biggest gripe with this dude's robot mode is just the corners that were cut there. There's no reason for it other than Hasbro bean counters wanted more money. And again, you don't have to make all the money. You can make most of the money and still be good. Okay, here's that promised group shot with the original Dinobot mold. And this poor guy, I feel so bad. So again, this is the 10th anniversary recolor of that toy. And you see how shiny he is? Like, the entire thing is made out of metal flake plastic, which means any part of him is prone to breakage. And you can see on this hand, he doesn't have any fingers. Those broke off a long time ago. And I was being really gentle too. I had to put these guys in storage for a move, and just super bubble wrapped everything. It didn't matter. Just a little bit of force from being moved around. Fingers broke right off. Tried super gluing them back on. It was just a no-go. So, yes, one of the most heartbreaking toys I own because it was so cool back in the day before, we could ever dream of getting something like this. And it's so broken. That's why I barely touch the thing anymore because it's just like begging to fall apart and be put out of its misery. So, yeah. But this does give you an idea of just kind of how the concepts evolved. You had this really kind of hokey looking robot with squat torso and long legs and this big old raptor head sticking off the front. And the designers at Mainframe, they really went out of their way to kind of spruce this thing up and make it look way cooler on screen. Of course, the trade-off to that is that it became very difficult to emulate that look in toy form. They tried it once with the Universe 08 Dinobot, and that thing, to me, is just hideous. Doesn't do the job at all. And then they did it with the Masterpiece, which I'll show you in a minute. They did a great job on, but it came at the cost of him being super complex and very expensive. This guy's kind of a middle of the road between the original design with having an actual raptor head on the front and, having some extraneous kibble hanging around, but at the same time, really nailing the overall silhouette and the overall look of the show-based Dinobot. So I really have an appreciation for how well they've improved on the initial design over the years. Now I'm going to put this poor guy away before he crumbles to dust on camera. And now here's the big kahuna. We got our Masterpiece Dinobot in his robot mode in all his glory. And, frankly, it's just a better representation of the character. It's got all the beautiful paint details, proportions that are a lot closer to the show model, much less of a backpack. Instead, he kind of gets like a slight hunchback. But, he comes with everything. He's much more well-painted. He also started this weird trend of Dinobot's sword being like a pink or a purple color. I don't know where they got that from. Perhaps my eyes deceive me, but I'm pretty positive that Dinobot's sword has always been just silver. And I think maybe somebody saw a screenshot of it when it's reflecting some reddish light and said, "Yep, that's pink." That looks pink to me. So, yeah. I don't know where that started. I don't like it. I don't know why it's not silver. I don't know why the new one doesn't have silver. But, it is what it is. I guess his sword is now officially pink or purple. So, yeah, there's no questioning that this is the quintessential Dinobot. But again, there's a price tag that comes along with that. If you don't want to spend the kind of ridiculous money to get this guy, who's very over-engineered and frankly a pain in the butt to transform, this is a good option, right? He's not 100% screen accurate, but he gets pretty darn close. He's a really good-looking toy in his own right, at least in robot mode. Still think that raptor tail is an abomination. Yeah, it really depends on what kind of market you're in. If you're in that high-grade collector market, sure, knock yourself out. Buy something like this. But if you're just more casual collector, Generations type, or you just don't have super deep pockets, Kingdom Dinobot is a really good go-to for a good representation of the character. Plus, he scales, perfectly with the current toy line. So, yeah, that's pretty much my stance. Ultimate version, ultimate retail version. Can't go wrong either way. They're both a lot of fun. They're both really great looking. And, yeah, I think if you pick up this new Kingdom toy, if you like Beast Wars and you like Dinobot, you'll love this. I think it just pleases all around. Of course, that is just my take on this toy. Now I want to know what you all think of the new Dinobot. Do you think he's worthy as the ultimate update to the Dinobot design, or do you find him very lacking? Do you think they could have done better? Any and all feedback's always welcome in the comment section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this look at the new Transformers Kingdom Wave 2 Voyager class Dinobot. And with all that said, I will see you next time.